Alright folks, let's talk about choils and kind of how my thoughts have evolved about choils over time. So a choil is a very useful thing for sure. It can also be a hindrance as well, and so we're going to talk about that. So on a smaller knife, and I'm calling this a small knife, it's got a 6-inch blade on it, but this is an SE6. It has a choil on it that allows you to get a little bit closer up on the blade, so you can do feather sticking and things like that. It makes the blade seem a little bit more well balanced and smaller, but there is a detriment to that on a blade this small. So let's see if I can get the camera to focus on this. So you can see how the choil is completely flat. It's not beveled in any way whatsoever. So if you're trying to span a piece of wood that's the entire blade length, that choil is gonna catch on the piece of wood as you're trying to split it, and it's gonna hinder your ability to baton through that wood. So really the only usable blade length for splitting wood and batoning starts at where the actual cutting edge starts, which means you have less than a 6-inch blade for cutting. This is something I've really noticed on the AK 6.5. Same sort of thing. It's got the flat choil there. I do really like the feel of it though for fine work, feather sticking with the choil. The thing is though, is if that blade came all the way back, if I do a hammer grip on this, it's not much different. Once we get to bigger size knives, a choil is a big advantage. You have a big knife that can easily span most wood for batoning. You have this deep cut choil in here, which I don't recall actually testing it, but I'd be surprised if this actually interfered, even if you had a piece of wood coming back all the way to the handle. Because it's so far back, you've already got the wedge of the blade starting to split the wood enough that it's probably gonna go straight past it anyway. The choil doesn't really, it affects the cutting edge of course, but you have so much cutting edge that you can afford to lose a little bit in order to be able to get up close and make that knife a little bit more nimble for finer tasks. So I find on the larger blades, a choil makes a lot of sense. Like on this guy, this has got I think a 9-inch blade if I remember correctly. That choil allows you to get right up on there and feather stick, and do some other types of tasks as well. So choils can be an advantage and a disadvantage depending, in my opinion, upon your blade length. So my personal opinion based on my experience has been, anything less than a 7-inch blade is probably not going to need a choil, and a choil is going to be a bit of a hindrance, especially if you're doing a lot of batoning. So this is, my reference is usually to batoning with this, you'll notice. So I do a lot of batoning with my knives to split wood and stuff. So this is what I've noticed over time. One of the kind of interesting designs is the Tops Longhorn Bowie, where the choil is placed very far back. So if you look at your SE, the choil starts where the blade starts, whereas on this Tops Longhorn Bowie, it starts about halfway into the handle, which actually gives you more cutting edge. And you also have this grinding surface here, this beveled area. So the part you're actually cutting into is not as wide as the blade thickness, which means you don't have very much, if any, trouble batoning wood all the way back to the handle. And I actually did that this weekend. We went out for kind of 4x4ing out into the wilderness near the mountains, and we had a fire and stuff, and I was batoning with this right up to the handle to span wood that was about from the handle to right near the tip here. So that's probably about, 5 or 6 inch piece of wood, because this is about a 7-inch blade, and it worked just fine. So that's a really interesting design aspect, in my opinion, is if you're gonna have a choil on a blade, do it like this, where it's part way into the handle and it doesn't interfere with your cutting edge as much, and it also doesn't interfere with batoning as much. This is really, really handy in something like a survival blade. The more I use this knife, the more I love it as a survival knife. It's my favorite. hands down for sure. If you watch this channel, you're gonna see this amount of blades shrink a little bit. I'm gonna be selling some of these knives in order to get some new ones on the channel, and you know, the channel is more so me buying knives that I'm interested in, testing them, evaluating them, you know, figuring out what my impressions are, and you know, hopefully sharing all of that with other people so it can help them in their decisions as to what knives they want to buy. So yeah, hopefully some of you guys get some useful information out of these videos. But yeah, I just want to talk about choils a little bit and kind of my feelings about choils. And let me know what you think about choils. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are you similar to me where, you know, on a relatively shorter knife, they're maybe not as useful when you could just have the blade coming back, you know, almost all the way to the handle? Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching.